Earth had never seen anything like the Galactic Council before. A massive space station orbiting a neutral star, it housed representatives from over 30 alien species. The human delegation arrived in their best ship, nervous but determined to make a good impression. Ambassador Daniel Wright led the small team. He was a tall man with graying hair at his temples and stern blue eyes that had stared down many opponents in his diplomatic career. But nothing had prepared him for this. "We're being hailed," said his pilot. "They're sending docking instructions." Wright nodded. "Take us in, nice and slow." As their ship glided toward the enormous structure, Wright studied the various alien vessels already docked. Some were sleek and elegant, others bulky and functional. All made Earth's best technology look primitive by comparison. The docking procedure went smoothly. When the airlock opened, Wright took a deep breath of the processed air. It smelled different, cleaner somehow. "Remember, we represent all of humanity now," he told his team of 5 diplomats and scientists. "Let's make this count." They were met by a delegation of 3 different species. The tallest were the Meridians, blue-skinned humanoids with 4 arms and large eyes that blinked sideways. They were known for their advanced technology and analytical minds. Next to them stood 2 Lumerians, gentle beings with translucent skin that glowed softly. They were said to be the peacekeepers of the galaxy, using their empathic abilities to resolve conflicts. But it was the 3rd species that made Wright's spine stiffen. The Vorax stood on powerful legs, their scaled bodies covered in natural armor. Sharp teeth gleamed when they spoke, and their yellow eyes seemed to evaluate the humans as prey. "Welcome to the Council," said the lead Meridian in perfect English. "I am Delegate Zoran. We have prepared quarters for your stay." Wright stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth and all humans, we thank you for this opportunity." The Vorax delegate made a sound that might have been a laugh. "The Council grows soft, allowing primitives to join our discussions." Wright kept his expression neutral, though his heart raced. This wasn't unexpected. Intelligence reports had warned that the Vorax viewed emerging species as competition to be eliminated rather than welcomed. The human delegation was led through vast corridors, where representatives of different species walked, floated, or slithered past. Some nodded in greeting. Others stared with obvious curiosity or disdain. Their quarters were comfortable but simple. As soon as they were alone, Wright's team gathered for a briefing. "First impressions?" Wright asked. Dr. Maria Foster, their xenobiologist, spoke first. The Lumerians seemed genuinely welcoming. The Meridians were polite but reserved. "And the Vorax want to eat us for lunch," added Ryan Peters, security specialist. "Did you see how they were eyeing us?" Wright nodded. "We expected resistance. Earth is new to the galactic stage. We need to prove ourselves." That evening, as Wright reviewed his notes for the next day's formal introduction, he received an urgent message from Earth. He opened it on his secure tablet and felt his blood run cold. Colony Epsilon on the outer rim had gone silent. All communications ceased without warning. The last transmission mentioned unidentified ships entering their system. Wright stared at the message. This was the 3rd human settlement to disappear in 2 months. Coincidence seemed unlikely. As he prepared for bed, his communication device chimed again. This time, it was a message from an anonymous source within the Council. "Not all attacks are claimed. Watch the Vorax. Evidence exists." Wright deleted the message immediately, but couldn't erase it from his mind. If the Vorax were behind these attacks, humanity's first diplomatic mission might soon become something very different. Sleep did not come easily that night, as the stars of an unfamiliar system shone through his window, and the weight of Earth's future rested on his shoulders. Lieutenant Lisa Reynolds hunched over her workstation in the secure communications center aboard the human diplomatic vessel. Her eyes burned from staring at screens for hours, but she couldn't stop now. The data patterns were finally making sense. "I've got something," she called to her colleague. "These transmission signatures match perfectly." For weeks, Lisa had been analyzing communications from the destroyed human colonies. Most data was corrupted, but fragments remained. By comparing these fragments with known alien ship signatures, she had found a match. The evidence was clear. Vorax battlecruisers had been present at each colony before communications went dark. This wasn't random. This was coordinated. Lisa gathered her findings and hurried through the ship's corridors to Ambassador Wright's office. She found him in discussion with two other diplomats. "Sir, I need to speak with you," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Wright recognized her urgency and dismissed the others. "What have you found, Lieutenant?" Lisa laid out her evidence. "The Vorax are behind the colony attacks. These signature readings are unmistakable." Wright studied the data, his face growing grim. "This is solid work, but the Council will demand more proof. The Vorax hold significant power here. We need to get this information to Earth immediately," Lisa insisted. Wright shook his head. "Not yet. We need to build our case first. The Vorax will deny everything, and without overwhelming evidence, the Council will side with them." The next day, Wright approached friendly delegates from other species. The Lumerians were sympathetic but cautious. "The Vorax have many allies," one whispered. "Be careful with your accusations." A Meridian scientist examined Lisa's findings privately. "Your analysis is correct," he confirmed, "but I cannot publicly support you. My people have treaties with the Vorax." Despite these setbacks, Lisa continued her investigation. She discovered that the Vorax had targeted other emerging species before, always making the attacks appear random or natural. Alex Morgan, Wright's aide, suggested a bold move. "The Vorax keep detailed records of all military operations. Their pride demands it. If we could access those records—" Wright hesitated. "That would be dangerous, possibly illegal under Council law." "Sir," Lisa argued, "they're killing our people. We need those records." After careful consideration, Wright agreed to a covert operation. Alex, who had trained in intelligence work, volunteered to retrieve the data. 3 tense days passed. Lisa worked with sympathetic aliens who shared rumors and small pieces of information. A pattern emerged. The Vorax considered humans a potential threat to their dominance and had decided to eliminate them before they grew stronger. When Alex finally returned to their quarters, he was pale and limping. "I got it," he said, handing Lisa a small data device. "But they detected me leaving. We don't have much time." Lisa quickly transferred the data while Wright called an emergency meeting of his team. The files confirmed their worst fears: a systematic Vorax plan to destroy all human colonies, making each attack look like accidents or pirate raids. As they reviewed the evidence, alarms blared throughout their quarters. "Security breach detected," announced the station's eye. "They're coming for the data." Alex gasped, clutching his side. Lisa now saw blood seeping through his shirt. "You're injured," she exclaimed. "Caught by a security field," he explained. "Get the data to the Council. It's our only chance." Wright made a quick decision. "Lisa, take everything we have and get to our ship. Prepare for emergency departure." As Lisa rushed to comply, Vorax security forces burst into their quarters. In the chaos that followed, Alex collapsed. Wright knelt beside him, but it was too late. The young aide had given his life to reveal the truth. With grief hardening into resolve, Wright knew what he had to do. Tomorrow, he would address the full Council, with or without their permission. Daniel Wright stood outside the massive doors of the Council chamber. His hands were steady, but his heart hammered in his chest. Behind him, Lisa Reynolds held the data tablet containing their evidence. "They've denied our request to address the full Council," Lisa whispered. Wright straightened his tie. "Then we'll enter without permission." The Council was in session, discussing trade routes between the Meridian and Lumerian territories. Wright's team had discovered that the Vorax representative, General Krav, had arranged this mundane topic to keep the Council occupied while another Vorax fleet moved against the human colony on Taw City. Wright nodded to Lisa, and she activated a device that overrode the chamber's security system. The massive doors slid open, and Wright strode in without hesitation. "What is the meaning of this interruption?" demanded the council chairman, a tall Meridian whose blue skin darkened with annoyance. "I apologize for this breach of protocol," Wright said, his voice calm but loud enough to carry to every corner of the vast chamber. "But when your colonies are being systematically destroyed, protocol becomes a luxury." The Vorax delegation rose immediately. "This human has no right to speak," General Krav snarled. "Remove him at once." Several security officers moved forward, but Wright held up his hand. "Before you remove me, know that evidence of Vorax attacks on human colonies has been transmitted to every diplomatic mission in this station. Removing me will only confirm our accusations." This was a bluff. Lisa had only managed to send the data to 3 friendly delegations, but it worked. The security officers hesitated, looking to the chairman for guidance. "What evidence do you claim to have, Ambassador Wright?" the chairman asked. Wright gestured to Lisa, who stepped forward and activated a holographic display. Images of Vorax ships attacking human outposts filled the air above the council floor. Next came intercepted Vorax communications planning the attacks and celebrating successful eliminations. These records were obtained from the Vorax military database, Wright explained. They detail a systematic plan to destroy human expansion before we become, in their words, a threat to Vorax dominance. General Krav lunged forward. "These are forgeries, the human lies." A Lumerian elder raised her glowing hand. "I sense no deception from the human." The chamber erupted in shouting and arguments. Some species demanded immediate sanctions against the Vorax. Others called Wright a warmonger. The chairman banged his ceremonial staff, trying to restore order. When the noise finally subsided, Wright stepped to the center of the chamber. His voice, when he spoke, was quiet but carried throughout the room. For centuries, humanity dreamed of finding other intelligent life among the stars. We hoped to find friends, teachers, partners in exploration. Instead, we have found that the oldest species in this council believes it has the right to determine which races may live and which must die. He looked directly at the Vorax delegation. "We came here in peace. We followed your protocols. We trusted in your justice. That trust has been betrayed." Wright took a deep breath. "As the authorized representative of Earth and all human colonies, I hereby formally declare a state of war exists between humanity and the Vorax Empire." The chamber fell absolutely silent. In the thousands of years of the Council's existence, no species had ever dared to openly declare war on the Vorax. The military superiority of the scaled warriors was considered absolute. In that silence, Wright continued, "Any council members who aid the Vorax will be considered enemies of Earth. Those who stand with humanity will find us loyal allies and friends." He turned to leave, then paused. The Vorax believed humans too weak to fight back. They will learn their mistake. As Wright and Lisa walked out, the silence followed them. Then, one by one, delegates began to leave their seats. Some hurried to communicate with their homeworlds. Others gathered in small groups, whispering urgently. The Galactic Order, stable for centuries, had just been shattered by a species most had considered insignificant. Captain Kate Wilson stood on the bridge of the Earth warship Dauntless, watching her fleet assemble near Proxima Centauri. 27 ships in all. Not many compared to Vorax numbers, but these vessels had never been shown to the Galactic Council. "All ships report ready, Captain," said her first officer. Kate nodded. "Tell them to activate stealth systems." One by one, the ships disappeared from visual scanners. This technology, the ability to bend light around their hulls, was humanity's best-kept secret. The Vorax had no idea it existed. "Receiving transmission from command," announced the communications officer. "The Vorax have begun their attack on New Haven Colony. Estimated arrival of their main fleet in 3 hours." Kate's jaw tightened. New Haven was home to over 30,000 civilians. "Send to all ships. Operation Shadow begins now." The Earth fleet moved silently through space, using the Proxima star to mask their energy signatures. Intelligence reports had revealed that the Vorax always followed the same attack pattern. Send a small advance force to disable communications, then bring in the main fleet to destroy all resistance. Commander John Porter had devised their battle plan. A former chess champion, Porter had studied every available record of Vorax military tactics. The Vorax always attack in a spear formation, he had explained during mission briefing. They rely on overwhelming force at a single point, but this leaves their flanks exposed, if you can get past their front line. Now, as Kate's fleet approached New Haven, they detected the Vorax advance force. 5 heavy cruisers already bombarding the colony's defense grid. All ships hold position, Kate ordered. Let them think they're winning. The Vorax continued their bombardment, unaware they were being washed. Then, right on schedule, their main battle fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. 30 warships arranged in their traditional spear formation. Now, Kate said quietly. The Earth fleet split into 3 groups. Kate led the first group in a direct approach toward the spear tip of the Vorax formation. The other 2 groups moved to attack the flanks. Weapons hot. Disengage stealth on my mark, she ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark. Suddenly, 27 Earth ships appeared around the Vorax fleet, weapons already firing. The Vorax commanders hesitated, clearly shocked by the ambush. Target their command ships, Porter advised from tactical. Without central coordination, their formation will break. Kate watched as her ships executed Porter's plan perfectly. Earth vessels darted between the larger Vorax ships, firing precisely at communication arrays and propulsion systems. The Vorax tried to regroup, but their rigid military doctrine became their weakness. They couldn't adapt quickly enough to this unexpected strategy. Vorax flagship is attempting to rally their forces, reported the sensor officer. Focus all fire on their flagship, Kate ordered. 3 Earth ships converged on the massive Vorax vessel. Their combined firepower overwhelmed its shields. The Vorax flagship exploded in a brilliant flash that temporarily blinded the forward sensors. Without their leader, the Vorax fleet fell into disarray. Some ships attempted to retreat while others fought on blindly. Captain, we've broken their formation, Porter announced, allowing himself a small smile. Move in and finish this, Kate ordered. The battle lasted another hour, but the outcome was already decided. When it ended, 18 Vorax ships had been destroyed. 7 more were disabled and captured. Only 5 had escaped to carry news of the defeat. The Earth fleet had lost just 3 ships, with 4 others damaged but repairable. As Kate looked at the battle statistics, she felt no joy, only grim satisfaction. This victory would not bring back the destroyed colonies, but it sent a clear message to the Vorax and the Galactic Council. Send word to Earth, she told her communications officer. Proxima secured. The Vorax fleet is destroyed. News of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. Species that had feared the Vorax for centuries now whispered a new name: humanity. The primitives had done the impossible. They had defeated the undefeatable. And this was only the beginning. Grace Martinez had never expected to become a key figure in an interstellar war. Before the conflict, she had been a professor of xenolinguistics. Now she stood before representatives of 12 alien species, trying to form an alliance that could stand against the Vorax. The Vorax have dominated through fear for too long, she said, her voice calm but passionate. Each of your worlds has suffered their aggression. Alone, we are vulnerable. Together, we have a chance. The gathering took place on a neutral space station orbiting a red dwarf star. Security was tight. Vorax spies were everywhere since their defeat at Proxima. A tall, insect-like being stepped forward. I am Speaker Klikta of the Navari hives. For generations, the Vorax have harvested our outer colonies. We were too weak to resist. The Navari's antennae quivered. Your victory gives us hope, but how can we trust humans? You are new to the stars. Grace smiled. We don't ask for trust based on our age, but on our actions. Earth has already pledged protection to any world that joins our coalition. A ripple of conversation moved through the room. The idea of protection from the Vorax was revolutionary. For centuries, smaller species had paid tribute to avoid destruction. The Therian delegate, a small being with gray skin and large eyes, spoke next. The Vorax enslaved our homeworld 50 years ago. They take our children to work in their mines. If we join you and fail, he left the terrible consequence unspoken. We understand your fear, Grace acknowledged. But consider this. The Vorax are already planning to crush each of your worlds eventually. Your only choices are to fight now, with allies, or face them alone later. As the discussions continued, Admiral Samuel Rivera entered the chamber. The human military leader had become famous after coordinating the defense of 3 human colonies against Vorax counterattacks. Military matters are my expertise, not diplomacy, Rivera began. But I can tell you this, we've analyzed Vorax strategies for months. They're predictable. They rely on fear more than actual strength. Their fleet is spread thin trying to maintain control over too many worlds. He activated a holographic display showing Vorax fleet deployments. If we coordinate our attacks here, and here, we can disrupt their supply lines and communication. Their empire is vulnerable because it's too large to defend all at once. The delegates studied the map with growing interest. For the first time, they were seeing the Vorax not as invincible conquerors, but as overextended occupiers. Over the next 3 days, Grace worked tirelessly. She learned each species' concerns and cultural nuances, building bridges where centuries of isolation had created distrust. By the 4th day, 7 species had agreed to join what they named the Coalition of Free Worlds. 3 more requested time to consult their governments. Only 2 declined, fearing Vorax retribution. The first test of the coalition came sooner than expected. Intelligence revealed a Vorax fleet moving toward the Therian homeworld, intending to make an example of them for attending the meeting. This is our chance to show our commitment, Rivera told the Coalition Council. We must defend the Therians. Within hours, ships from Earth, the Navari Hives, and 3 other allies were moving toward Therian space. Grace accompanied them as a coordinator between the different species commanders. The battle that followed became known as the Liberation of Theria. Coalition forces arrived just as the Vorax began their bombardment. The surprised Vorax commanders found themselves facing not just human ships, but vessels from species they had oppressed for generations. When the Therian slave camps were freed, images of the thin gray children running to freedom were transmitted across the galaxy. Suddenly, the coalition wasn't just a military alliance, it became a symbol of hope. As Grace watched these children receiving medical care, a Therian elder approached her. For 50 years, we believed no one would help us. Today, you have given us back our world and our future. The coalition of free worlds grew rapidly after that. Each liberated planet brought new allies, new resources, and new determination to end Vorax dominance forever. Commander Olivia Grant watched the tactical display with growing dread. The Vorax had gathered their entire remaining fleet, over 300 warships, and set course for Earth. This was no raid or strategic strike. This was an extinction-level attack. Send the alert to all coalition forces, she ordered, and notify Earth Defense Command. The Vorax had clearly decided that humanity posed too great a threat to their dominance. After losing multiple battles and watching their empire crumble as more species joined the coalition, they had chosen to strike at the heart of the resistance. Earth had 2 weeks to prepare. Every available ship was recalled to the solar system. Civilian vessels were equipped with weapons. Orbital defense platforms were activated around Earth, Mars, and the major moons. Grant was given command of the last defensive line at Jupiter. Her force consisted of 37 Earth ships and 22 coalition vessels. Against the Vorax armada, it seemed painfully small. We've received a transmission from Dr. Frank Turner, her communications officer announced. Grant's eyebrows rose. Turner was Earth's leading weapons scientist, working on experimental technology at Jupiter's research station. "Put him through," she said. Turner's face appeared on screen, tired but excited. "Commander, we've completed the prototype. It works in simulations, but it's never been field-tested." "What exactly does it do, Doctor?" "It creates a localized disruption in space-time. Any ship caught in the field will have its atomic bonds weakened. In simple terms, they'll fall apart." Grant frowned. "And the drawbacks?" Turner hesitated. "The device must be detonated at the center of the enemy fleet to maximize effectiveness, and the ship carrying it won't survive the activation. A suicide mission." Grant nodded slowly. "How soon can it be ready?" 24 hours. We're installing it on the Defiant now." The Vorax fleet arrived earlier than expected. The outer defense lines fought bravely, but were overwhelmed by superior numbers. Within hours, the battle reached Jupiter. Grant's forces engaged the enemy, but for every Vorax ship they destroyed, 2 more took its place. Coalition ships fell one by one as they protected Earth's last line of defense. "Defiant reports ready, Commander," her tactical officer reported. Grant opened a channel to the ship. "Captain, is the device operational?" "Yes, Commander." "Dr. Turner is aboard to oversee final preparations." Grant hadn't expected that. "Turner is on your ship?" He insisted. "Says he needs to make final adjustments that can't be done remotely." Grant closed her eyes briefly. "Understood. Hold position until my signal." The battle intensified. Grant's flagship shuddered as Vorax weapons found their mark. Shield strength dropped to critical levels. "We can't hold much longer," her first officer warned. Grant studied the tactical display. The Vorax fleet had formed their traditional spear formation, pushing toward Earth. If Turner's device worked, now was the time. "Signal Defiant," she ordered. "Operation Sunburst is go." The small Earth vessel broke formation and accelerated directly toward the center of the Vorax armada. Enemy ships fired at it, but the Defiant's enhanced shields held just long enough. "They've reached the target zone," reported Tactical, receiving transmission from Dr. Turner. Turner's face appeared one last time. "Device activated. It's been an honor, Commander. Tell Earth." The transmission cut off. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a strange, pulsing light erupted at the heart of the Vorax fleet. It expanded outward in concentric rings, engulfing ship after ship. Where the light touched, Vorax vessels seemed to dissolve, breaking apart into component atoms. When the light faded, nearly 2/3 of the Vorax fleet was gone. The remaining ships, clearly damaged and disoriented, began to retreat. Grant stood motionless, watching them flee. The Defiant and its crew were gone, along with Dr. Turner. But their sacrifice had saved Earth. "Send to all ships," she said quietly. "Hold position. Let them run." For the first time in their history, the Vorax were not just defeated, they were broken. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries had finally met an enemy they could not overcome. As Grant looked out at the debris field that had once been the mighty Vorax armada, she knew the war had reached its turning point. The Vorax homeworld hung in space like a jewel. Red continents against blue oceans under swirling white clouds. From orbit, it looked peaceful. No one would guess this planet had birthed a species that terrorized the galaxy for centuries. Dangle Wright stood on the bridge of the Coalition flagship Unity, watching the viewscreen. The combined fleet of Earth and its allies surrounded the Vorax planet. After the defeat at Jupiter, the once mighty empire had crumbled quickly. Occupied worlds rose up against their oppressors. Tributary species refused to pay. Now, only their home system remained. "Vorax High Command is responding to our hail," said the communications officer. Wright nodded. On screen, General Krav appeared, older now, his scaled face bearing new scars. "Ambassador Wright, we meet again." "General," Wright acknowledged. "Are you prepared to discuss terms?" Krav's yellow eyes narrowed. "The Vorax do not surrender." Then you will be destroyed, Wright replied evenly. Your military is broken. Your empire is gone. We have 300 ships in orbit around your world. Silence stretched between them. Wright could almost see the calculations happening behind those alien eyes. What terms do you offer? Krav finally asked. The question surprised everyone on the bridge. Throughout the war, the Vorax had chosen death over defeat. This was unprecedented. Wright had prepared for this moment. Complete disarmament. All military vessels surrendered to coalition control. War reparations to all worlds you've harmed. And Vorax representatives will stand trial for crimes against sentient beings. And in return, your species lives. Your civilization continues. Your planet remains yours. Krav seemed genuinely confused. You would not exterminate us. After all we've done. Wright shook his head. That's the difference between us, General. We don't believe in genocide, even against those who practiced it. 3 days later, Wright stood in the Grand Hall of the Vorax capital as their leaders formally surrendered. Coalition forces had already begun disarming the planet's defenses. Vorax warships were being impounded or destroyed. After the ceremony, Wright walked the ancient streets of the alien city. Coalition soldiers patrolled alongside civilian observers from dozens of species. Many had traveled here to witness this historic moment, the end of Vorax tyranny. His communicator chimed. Ambassador, the council representatives have arrived. They're requesting your presence at the new chamber. The Galactic Council had undergone a transformation during the war. With the Vorax influence removed, oppressed species gained voices. New leadership emerged. Now, they were establishing a temporary headquarters on the Vorax homeworld, a powerful symbol of change. Wright entered the makeshift council chamber, once a Vorax military command center. Representatives from over 40 species filled the room, including several that had only recently gained freedom. The new council chairman, a Lumerian elder, greeted Wright warmly. Ambassador, we are ready to begin the formation of the new council charter. Wright took his seat at the main table, a position of honor that recognized humanity's role in reshaping galactic politics. The first principle we propose, said the chairman, is mutual defense. An attack on one member world will be considered an attack on all. One by one, other principles followed: free trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation, and protections for emerging species. Ideas that humans had long advocated were now becoming galactic law. As the session ended, Wright stood on a balcony overlooking the Vorax capital. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the alien landscape. Admiral Rivera joined him. Thinking about how it all started. Wright nodded. When I declared war in that council chamber, I never imagined we'd end up here. Humanity proved itself, Rivera said. We showed the galaxy something they hadn't seen before: determination without cruelty, strength without tyranny. In the following months, the new Galactic Council took shape. Humanity was granted a permanent leadership position, along with 4 other species. The Vorax were allowed limited representation, under strict oversight. Treaties were signed. Trade routes reopened. Former enemies became cautious allies. For the first time in memory, the galaxy experienced true peace. 1 year after the surrender, Wright returned to Earth. Standing before the United Nations, he recounted the journey from humanity's first steps into the galactic community to its current position of leadership. We went to the stars hoping to find friends, he concluded. Instead, we found a galaxy in need of freedom. Through courage and sacrifice, humanity changed the course of galactic history, not through conquest,